Okay, chapter 2.7, solving equations by graphing. All right, so they've got a key idea. We need to make sure we point that out real quick. And the key idea has to do with solving equations. You can sometimes write two linear equations. So for instance, they just say ax plus b is equal to cx plus d. And you can change this if you have something like this where you have an equal sign. You kind of have an equation on one side and an equation on the other side. What's in common? You've got a, b, c, d. A, b, c, d. Those are all different. So what is in common is the x. Both sides have an x. And so this could become an equation. If this is equal to this, then they're both equal. And that would make we could rewrite this that say that y is equal to ax plus b. And this makes a whole new equation. And over here we can say y is equal to cx plus d. Now if this is equal to this, then y is equal to this and y could be equal to this, and that would kind of make sense. This is sort of the point that you're supposed to be making. You can write two equivalent equations out of one larger equation because they're set equal to each other. All right. So, let's just try it. Example number 1, maybe I'll get a fresh page here. X minus 2 is equal to negative 1/2 x plus 1. Okay, so we're going to just rewrite these into two equations. So we'll say y is equal to x minus 2. That's our first equation. And the second one is y is equal to negative 1/2 x plus 1. And that's the second one. You can see how that happened there. And since they're equal to each other, they could both be equal to y, and that'll work. And then we just graph them. All right, so we're just gonna take our little graph paper here and make a graph and make it happen. So x minus 2, y is equal to x minus 2. We have this in slope-intercept form. The slope is 1 over 1, and the y-intercept is negative 2. And somehow I made it bigger again. I keep doing that. There's some button on my pen that does that. So it's a positive 1 slope starting at negative 2, so it's going to be up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, and so we're starting down here. So these are our 3 points to make the first line. There we go. And for this equation, we've got a negative 1/2 slope. So the slope is negative 1 over 2 over 2. Let's just do that better. That's the slope. And the y-intercept, which is b, is equal to positive 1. So that's going to start up here. But our slope is going to be down 1 over 2. Down 1 over 2. But this is where we cross. Okay, so our solution, the graph intersects at, I keep doing that. Sorry guys. 0, 2. So the solution is x equals 2. Okay? And you can always check it by sticking it back in. If you put in 2 up here, you've got 2 minus 2 is equal to, ends up being 0, and 1/2 of 2 is 1, is negative 1, plus 1 is also equal to 0, and it works out. Let's look at the next example. Or maybe what we should do, let's do one more before you actually get going. 1/3 x is equal to x plus 8. This should be the last example that we're doing, and you ought to be able to figure it out from there. All right, so we're going to, this is equal to that, so we can say that y is equal to 1/3 x. And we can also say that y is equal to x plus 8. Notice here that there's no b, there's no y-intercept, which just means it goes right through the origin, which means that this graph intersects right in the middle at 0, 0, right here. And if we just put in a couple, we'll see how many we need. This says 8. So that's going to be sort of a pain. Let's see if we can get up to 8. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Come on. 7, 8. -4, positive 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -1, 2, 3, 4, just to see what we get. Alright, so y-intercept of this one is up at 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, let's change colors. Up at 8. But the slope goes up 1 over 1. If a slope goes up 1 over 1, let me just show you. The slope is 1 over 1. But that's the same thing as -1 over -1. And that's what we want to do. We want to go down 1, back 1, just because we don't have any more room on our graph. And that's the same as going up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, but we're going down 1, back 1. So our graph is kind of coming this direction. And we should meet over here at -8. If we're at 0, 8, we should also meet at -8, 0. And I'm not sure I drew that very well, but we'll just see what happens here. With this other one, 1/3 x, we start at 0 because there's no b, right? b is 0 plus 0, so we start here, and it go up 1 over 3. So up 1 over 3, up 1 over 3. And so when we see that, we can see that these lines will eventually cross somewhere way over here. If we were to extend this one, okay, it's going to cross down here somewhere. And we're going to have to draw those out. Okay, so this gets a little more complicated. So we need to just to make sure you guys understand, we've got to draw it a little better. Let me go get something. Let me pause for a second. Okay, I went and I got some graph paper, and I think that's enough. We can just do that. We'll just put that right there, and then if I turn my pen around, there we go. Well, we're going to write our equations out again. This is 1. Sometimes you just have to do this. Don't get frustrated. 1/3 x is equal to x plus 8. And if we go ahead and do that, the y-intercept is 8, which is right here. And again, I got to write my two equations. Oh my, I'm getting ahead of myself. Something about this. Y is equal to 1/3 x. And we also have y is equal to x plus 8. And that's the one I was just already getting started on. So we have one at 8. And then remember, it was up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. Well, we could also go down 1, back 1, down 1, back 1. Down 1, back 1, down 1, back 1. We can just keep doing that. And that's fine. You could also get out your ruler and just try to make it work. And just keep going. And you have to make sure you're crossing the right ones, and that's the hard part. Okay, there we go. This line is y is equal to x plus 8. And then we're going to write this one out, which starts at 0, because remember, this is like plus 0. There's no y-intercept other than listed, so it's at 0, 0 at the origin. And it's up 1 over 3. Up 1 over 3. And this is why it's so nice to have good graph paper, down 1, back 3, because you can't really do it. It's really awkward to do it without. And so every time we're going to go down 1 over 3. And we should line up down 1 over 3, down 1 over 3. And we can see that we're lined up right there. And these two are going to cross. And in fact, I suppose I should just draw this past there. But the point that we need to cross, that we need to identify, is this point right here. And this point is at negative 12 on the x-axis and negative 4 on the y-axis. And so we're looking for where it crosses the x. That's negative 12. And if we go ahead and that should be the answer, and we go ahead and put that back into our original equation, what happens if I put in 1/3 of x, 1/3 of negative 12? Is that equal to negative 12 plus 8? Well, 1/3 of negative 12, 1/3 of 12 is 4, so that'd be negative 4. And negative 12 plus 8 is also negative 4. And so we can see that that works. We checked our work, and the x is what we were trying to find. All right, great job. Use graph paper.